The school has a graffiti vigilante who goes by the alias Punk. Hello there, everybody. Long time no see. I know it's been like 2 years at this point since you last saw me discussing one of Penelope Douglas's great works, Corrupt. I am still planning on doing the rest of the series for the Devil's Night series. I am taking a break from that script right now, and I'm gonna do something a little bit quicker, a standalone, but it's still in the Devil's Night verse, and that is Penelope Douglas's book, Punk 57. So our book kicks off with one of our first main characters. His name is Misha, and he's reading a letter that is written by our other main character, whose name is Ryan. So Ryan is confiding in Misha in this letter that she is ashamed to admit how much she envies the mean, popular, cheerleader stereotype at her high school. And we learn that although Ryan condemns this kind of behavior, a part of her still envies that kind of cheerleader, popular girl type. This cheerleader is always surrounded by people and she's so popular, and Ryan is terrified to be alone. Misha, we learn, is actually rereading this letter from Ryan, and while he's rereading this letter, he's running late for something and he's getting a lot of texts on his phone. So after reading that letter from Ryan, Misha gets inspired to write what looks like it's probably song lyrics. We also learn that Misha has a lip piercing. Although Ryan and Misha have been writing letters to each other for 7 years, they have never met in person and they do not know what each other look like. Misha begins driving to the warehouse where his band practices, and on his way he comes across his sister, his 17-year-old sister that he's close with, running down the road. And he's frustrated with his sister since she's running alone and it's getting dark and she has her headphones in and she promises oh, I'm finishing up or something, I'm gonna go home. And Misha's okay, agrees to drive away. So as he's driving away from her, he kind of notes to himself that she doesn't look right necessarily. Not sick, but just very run down. Which makes sense because we learn that his sister not only has above a 4.0 GPA, she's also involved in numerous clubs, and she gets up at 4:30 a.m. to run every day. Misha's on his way to this warehouse, and I don't know why I thought that it was for band practice. I guess it's not for band practice. So it's actually Misha's going to this warehouse because he's meeting up with the rest of his bandmates because they're hosting a fundraiser for their band to go on tour. Misha gets to the warehouse, he's meeting up with his band for their fundraiser, and we learn that the fundraiser is actually, it's like a scavenger hunt for their band. The fundraiser is a scavenger hunt. Okay, this scavenger hunt fundraiser for this band in this small affluent town of Thunder Bay is extremely popular because almost 500 people have showed up, and it is also a ticketed event. So the tour is already bankrolled. So the tour is paid for. Congratulations to Misha's band. You guys are going on tour. And this is where we're going to have to start suspending our disbelief, friends, because Misha's band is popular enough to get 500 people to show up to their fundraiser. And this is like a neighborhood, small town band. There are 500 people that are going to show up for this band that Misha is in. Also, Misha's name is Misha. So how on God's green earth does Ryan not know that Misha is in a band and that this is Misha's band fundraiser? We're just going to have to let it go and drop it. Misha is looking around. He gets to the warehouse. He gets to his band's fundraiser. He sees that there's 500 people there, and he's looking around at all of the attendees, and he sees this girl filming her friend for one of the scavenger hunt challenges, and the friend then yells out at the girl filming to stop recording, and so she yells out oh my gosh, Ryan, stop recording. And Misha's what? Ryan? He can't see the front of this girl's face. He just sees the back of her because she has her back to him while she's recording her friend. But it is Ryan, his pen pal, Ryan. Misha, since they're doing this scavenger hunt, I forgot to say too that it's a scavenger hunt where you find things for the scavenger hunt and you post pictures of the scavenger hunt things that you're doing, and like you're tagging like the band fundraiser. He's like, I'm looking her up. Like, now's the time. I'm looking her up on social media. So he looks her up on social media. I want to remind you that Ryan in these letters is very shy, and she writes herself out to be introverted. And then he looks her up on Instagram and she's like super hot. And he's like, this bothers him because he's like, what the hell? You didn't write in your letters like you're a hot girl, which I don't really know how you write a letter like a hot girl, but apparently Ryan was not writing her letters like she was a hot girl. So Misha's pissed. Misha is like kind of lost in thought while he's scrolling through Ryan's social media. And while he's kind of lost in thought, Ryan and the friend come up to him. Ryan's friend's name is Layla. Or Lila? I think Lila. Lila approaches Misha with Ryan. Lila tells Misha that Ryan needs Misha to kiss Ryan for Ryan's scavenger hunt. And then Layla, after telling Misha this, gets called away. So leaving Misha and Ryan alone in person for the first time. It was so many names. Misha's looking at Ryan. He cannot believe that she isn't reacting to seeing him, because he's convinced, like all of us, that she must have seen a picture of him at some point and recognizes him. She's literally at his band's fundraiser. So he, in the back of his mind, Misha is like, she must be playing some like sick prank on me. Once again, just like very lost in thought and like withdrawn into himself. Misha's friend Dane comes up and he's like, hey, and he's about to say Misha's name and like out who he is to Ryan. But before he can, Misha cuts him off so that Dane is not able to like get out his first name. Dane then helps Ryan take a picture for one of her dares, and one of the dares is to eat something Lady and the Tramp style. This is just for her to be able to share a marshmallow with Misha, and then they just have like sexual tension. And Misha still is acting so strange because Ryan in her letters comes off as a very kind of insecure, shy, introverted person, and he is staring face to face with Ryan. This is not the Ryan that I know from the letters. This is a hot girl, a confident hot girl, not the ugly loser that I know from my letters. That's not my ugly loser, Ryan. Ryan and Misha take this Lady and the Tramp style picture and they kind of part ways. And as they're about to part ways, Misha thinks to himself, quote, "You really are gonna hate me, Angel, when we finally do meet someday and you put this all together." That is some serious foreshadowing. Now we're on into our second chapter and we get our first chapter with Ryan's POV. We're also gonna get a 3-month time jump. So we kick off this chapter with one of Ryan's letters to Misha, where we learn that Misha has not responded to Ryan in 3 months. Since she doesn't know that they met at the fundraiser, Ryan is under the impression that Misha just randomly ghosted her. We do know that she has continued to write him for these 3 months, even though he hasn't responded. We also now get a little sneak peek into Ryan's room as well, and her room is very, very personal to her, and we learn that she doesn't let like any of her friends come up into her room. She also has this big giant, I think it's like a chalkboard wall, and she writes a lot of stuff down on there, like her thoughts. She tapes pictures to it. It's just a look inside of her brain. That's not really important right now, but it will come back later. So Ryan sneaks out of her room later that night to go out with her friends. One of them is the friend from the fundraiser, Lila, and then the other friend, his name is 10, like the number 10. Lila and 10 are her, like, seemingly two best friends. Ryan hops in the car with her friends, and she thinks this about the two of them. She thinks, quote, "The thing about being a leader is that someone's always trying to take your job. Lila and 10 are, for all intents and purposes, my friends. We've known each other throughout middle school and high school, but they're like my suit of armor. Yeah, they can be uncomfortable, they can make too much noise, and they don't always feel good, but I need them. You don't want to be alone in high school, and if you have friends, good ones or not, you have a little power." They're in the car driving to a place called The Cove, which I think is essentially an abandoned seaside carnival. They're also meeting up with a few more friends. They're meeting up with a few guys also at the Cove. The relevant ones are a guy named JD, who is Lila's boyfriend, and then also a guy named Trey, who is best friends with JD and has been pursuing Ryan, like he's interested in her. Lila, for some reason, has been pushing Ryan really hard to take her relationship further with Trey, but Ryan has been keeping him at an arm's length. Lila is weirdly like taking this personally and is like frustrated with Ryan that she's not like putting out with like her boyfriend's friend. I'm like, why do you care about this? And Ryan thinks to herself, quote, "Is that a warning? What are you gonna do, Lila? Sweep in and take him out from under me if I don't put out? Delight in my loss when he gets tired of waiting and screws someone else? Is he doing someone else right now? Maybe you?" After thinking this to herself, Ryan tells Lila, quote, "Don't be concerned about me. When I'm ready, he'll come running, no matter who he's killing time with." Ryan also thinks to herself, and I know that I'm doing like a lot of quotes right now, but I think all these are so telling to like who Ryan presents herself as. Ryan thinks to herself about how her and Lila are both brats, but they're different kinds of brats. And where Lila gets her feeling of power from men, Ryan thinks this about herself. She thinks, quote, "Me, on the other hand, I'm weak. I just want to get through the day as easily as possible, no matter who I step on to do it." Even though it makes her unlikable, I think it's very humanizing to have her have this mindset, especially like in high school. Coming from a girl who was once in high school, it can be rough to be a girl in high school and to be navigating friendships and popularity and just relationships in general in high school, especially paired with the knowledge that Ryan was ostracized a lot as a kid and was an outcast. I think it just shows like how petrified she is to be alone, and under the surface how deeply insecure she is. We finally get, you're probably so excited, we finally get to the Cove. We're done driving and I'm done talking about other things. 10, Lila and Ryan meet up with JD, Trey, and other people, but the only notable ones are JD and Trey. Lila goes off with JD because that's her boyfriend, and then Ryan gets stuck with Trey like alone. Ryan tells Trey, "Oh, like you can take me home if you can catch me." And then she ropes 10 into this thing, and it's basically I think they're playing like hide and seek, and she has no intention of letting him catch her because she's like, "I do not want to go home with this man." Ryan and 10 run to go hide from Trey. Ryan and 10 run into this abandoned, I think like maintenance building. And while they're in there, they come across like a bed that looks recently slept in, and they're looking around and they find what looks like poetry written on the wall of the room. Ryan is like, "Oh my God, that's so weird. That writing like kind of looks like Misha's handwriting, like how crazy." Then she finds an iPod on the table of the room with music still playing through the headphones on the iPod. And they're like, "Oh my God, they were literally just here. Like, we gotta go." So they book it out of the maintenance room. Now we go into chapter 3 and we're still in Ryan's POV. We're getting to the reason why I really wanted to do a video on this book. The school has a graffiti vigilante who goes by the alias Punk. We learn that the school is installing security cameras all throughout the school because they're trying to catch this graffiti vigilante named Punk. So Punk's messages on the walls range from serious to comical. Here are some examples that we get from Ryan because she walks into school and she like sees them on the wall. So the first, like, I don't know why this is killing me so much. The first note from Punk this is the serious one. It says, "I polish my sheen, but you can't shine shit. Dash, Punk." The comical one is, "FYI, your mom wouldn't date your dad if she could make that choice again. Dash, Punk." And what makes this even funnier is that people like take this so seriously. Like, they're obsessed with the Punk messages and they interact with the Punk messages. And so the comedy message was apparently so impactful to the students that, quote, "Several parents called the school because their sons or daughters had given them the third degree to see if it was true. So Ryan suddenly feels this like heavy weight on her chest, and then she reaches into her backpack to get her inhaler, and we find out that she actually suffers with asthma. But before she can get to her inhaler, Lila walks up to her, and Ryan like quickly hides it. So I guess she doesn't want people to know that she has asthma. Ryan then walks to her favorite class, which is art, but she, of course, because art is lame, I guess, she tells people like, I hate art. Art is stupid. When she sits down in art class, Trey sits next to her in the class, and he starts trying to ask her to prom. And as she's kind of like, okay, like trying to change the subject or like brush him off almost, and the new kid, there's like a new kid in school, and he walks into class. Spoiler alert, the new kid is Misha, but he does not go by the name Misha at this school. He goes by the name Mason. Is the band that they're in popular or not? How, like, Lila and all of them went to this fundraiser for this band. Like, and Lila talked to Misha / Mason, and she didn't know that that's Misha. But I guess, like, honestly, like, if you asked me to name, like, I love the band The Lumineers, couldn't name a single member, and I'm so sorry to the Lumineers. So I am going to keep referring to Misha as Misha, because just to make it less confusing. But just remember that Ryan does not know that it's Misha, and she thinks that his name is Mason. Misha comes into Ryan's art class, sits down in class, and witnesses Ryan and Trey like bullying this kid in their class named Manny. They're just bullying this poor kid, and then Misha all of a sudden grabs Manny's chair and pulls him over to like where Misha is sitting. Ryan recognizes like, oh, that's the kid from that fundraiser that I met like 3 months ago. Like, that's so crazy. Later in the day during lunch, Ryan and her friends are talking about how they think that Misha is punk, and he's the one that's been vandalizing the school with the graffiti. So Ryan walks over to where Misha's sitting at the cafeteria, and she tries to start a conversation with him multiple times. He just doesn't respond, which is so funny. And then she even goes as far to, when he doesn't respond to like her multiple attempts of trying to talk to him when he clearly is not interested, she even goes as far to to gently reach out and tug his headphones out of his ears. Why would you do that? Like, that would piss me off so bad. And she's like, are you not talking because like you don't like people, or do you just not like girls? Which is like, oh my god, here we go. After she says like, oh, do you just not like girls, he pulls her onto his lap, and then he licks her neck in the middle of the cafeteria with like, I'm seemingly a lot of people watching. And he licks her neck, and he's like, yeah, I like girls, but you taste like shit. Like, so embarrassing for her. And after he says that, he stands up while she's still in his lap, and she just like falls off onto the ground. That's just like kind of where that chapter ends. And now we move into chapter 4, and we're still in Ryan's POV, and she just finished cheer practice at the end of the school day. And as she and Ten are walking up to her locker to like get her stuff to leave, she sees that all of the stuff that was in her locker is now on the ground. And then now in the empty locker, like written on the door of her empty locker, is just the word empty in Sharpie. So Ryan goes home, and when she gets to her bedroom, she finds Misha waiting for her in her bedroom. I'm judging Ryan for pulling out Misha's earbuds and like not leaving him alone in the cafeteria. But now I'm like, Misha, babe, you're gonna just show up in her room? How do you even know? In Ryan's perspective, this is a man she met one time at a fundraiser, and now he somehow knows where she lives and where her bedroom is and got into her bedroom. Oh my god. The reason that he's in there is because he thinks that Ryan stole something from him to incentivize her giving whatever she stole from him back to him. Misha flashes her diary that he found snooping in her room. He says, quote, "Under the mattress isn't exactly a novel idea, you know." And yes, I read that part, and the other one, and the other one. Then Misha threatens to plaster every single page of the diary all over the school, which would absolutely humiliate Ryan. He's blackmailing her, obviously. To keep him from doing that, Misha tells Ryan to never speak to him again and to give him back a locket and a piece of paper that she took from the Cove. I'm sure everybody guessed, but the bedroom that they were in was where Misha was living. And so Ryan gives back the piece of paper, but she's like, I don't have this necklace that you're talking about. And she realizes that 10 must have taken the necklace since they were together when they found his bedroom. Ryan is like, I promise I will get it back from 10. Please do not release my embarrassing diary. Misha tells Ryan that he's going to take the diary as insurance to make sure that she gets the locket back to him from 10. As he's leaving her room, he says, quote, you know, I really do like your room. Maybe if you were more like this at school, people wouldn't talk behind your back so much. When he walks out, Ryan notices something written on the back of her door, and it just says one word. It says fraud. So next day at school, Ryan gets the necklace from 10, and she pops the locket open, and she sees that there's a piece of paper in the locket, and it says, quote, close your eyes, there's nothing to see out there. Which, once again, stirs some recognition in Ryan. So back in art class, Ryan is laying on the mean girl facade extra thick. I don't know what it is about art class that brings out the absolute demon in Ryan, but she's just being so mean and nasty to the teacher. But before she can get too far, Misha pipes in because he's in art class with her. And so he pipes in and he just embarrasses her again. So Misha's humiliation of Ryan in art class again actually triggers a panic-induced asthma attack for her, which hasn't happened to her in 4 years. So Ryan gets a flashback while she's having this panic attack. She basically gets a flashback from 4th grade where we get further detail into just how isolated she really was from her classmates. It gives us some context onto why she's so hell-bent on fitting in and having friends. Flashback to present day while she's kind of mid-panic attack. She ends up being able to collect herself and she pushes through the rest of the day, just really refusing to acknowledge that her control and her image is just kind of slipping through her fingers, all thanks to this new kid that will not stop antagonizing her. Ryan then meets up with Misha in the parking lot after school to give him the locket in exchange for her diary. Misha gets the locket back from Ryan, but he refuses to give her the diary. To get the diary back, because she's so desperate to get the diary back, Ryan threatens to tell social services that Misha is the one that's living in the cove. The threat does end up working, and Misha tells Ryan that he will bring the diary to her house that night. So next chapter, we are finally back in Misha's POV. So ever since that fateful night at the fundraiser 3 months ago, Misha hasn't been able to write song lyrics or any letters to Ryan, just hasn't been able to write at all. And then we do get the reason behind, obviously, Misha's behavior to Ryan when Misha thinks to himself, quote, the girl I saw yesterday in the classroom, she disappointed me. My Ryan, the one I thought I knew, would never treat someone the way she treated that kid, Cortez, which is Manny. The way she just stood by and let that cocksucker mess with him. I waited for her. I sat there and waited for her to stand her ass up and to speak for him, to say something, to do anything. But nothing. Everything makes sense now. The cheerleader she talked about in her letters and everything she hated, she was talking about herself. So after Misha burns his emotional letter to Ryan, he heads out to Ryan's high school, which is also now his high school, and the school is called Falcon's Well. He goes to the high school with his friend Dane, who we met briefly at the fundraiser in the first chapter. So Misha and Dane sneak into the school and head to the principal's office, and we learn that Misha has had plans to go to Falcon's Well for a while now, and they've had nothing to do with Ryan. But he did know that he would run into her since he was going to go to her school. So we find out that basically Misha is looking for a file that Annie told him she sent to Falcon's Well, and Annie is Misha's sister. I'm assuming you all know who Annie is to Misha. But I will just lay it out there to make sure that we are all kind of clear on the timeline here. The night that Misha met Ryan at the fundraiser 3 months ago was the same night that Misha's sister Annie died. So when they're driving to the cove and 10 says, this road creeps me out because that poor 17-year-old girl passed away, it was Misha's sister Annie. If you remember as well from the beginning of the book, Misha is getting phone calls from Annie while he's talking to Ryan at the fundraiser, but he ignores them. Shortly after Annie called Misha, she died of a heart attack while she was out running. We still aren't sure what Falcon's Well High School has to do with Annie and what happened to her, but that is why Misha is here and why he stopped writing Ryan. Back to Misha and Dane's little special ops document recovery mission. They leave the principal's office and they head through the locker room to like leave the school, Misha notices something in the locker room, like out of the corner of his eye. He's like goes to investigate whatever he's hearing in the locker room. That thing that he's hearing in the locker room is Lila and Trey smashing. That is the Trey that has been trying to get at Ryan and go to prom with her. And that is also the Lila that is dating JD, Trey's best friend. Yes. So Misha continues just going through the locker room to the pool after seeing this. He is looking for Ryan, who is teaching a like kids swimming class at the pool at this time. So after the class ends, Ryan approaches Misha, and we know that Misha brought the diary to school. So Ryan approaches him to get the diary back. Very quickly, Misha and Ryan start bickering, and Dane just like leaves. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but Misha has a nickname for Ryan. So Misha's nickname for Ryan is Rocks. We don't know why he calls her that. Ryan does not know why he calls her that either. So while Misha and Ryan are bickering, Misha thinks to himself, oh my gosh, Ryan might be able to hear or see Lila and Trey smashing in the locker room, because they're smashing literally right behind where she is in this pool locker room. When Misha realizes this, he has this thought process. So he thinks to himself, quote, what if she hears something or sees them come out together? I turn back to her. So what? She should find out what goddamn sleazes these people are, whose opinions she cares so much about. She should find out exactly what a bad investment that was. She had this coming, but for some reason, I don't want her to confront that. Not unprepared. If she sees her prom date and best friend together, no one will take her side when the fallout happens. Probably no one will be surprised by Lila's behavior, and Trey will be the man. Ryan will just be the stupid girl who is duped, and I'm not sure why I care. So since Misha doesn't want Ryan to see what's going on in the locker room, he offers to walk her to her car. Ryan's like, absolutely not. Like, no, you're so mean to me. I do not want you to walk me to my car. Misha tells her again, it's not safe at the school. Let me just walk you out. And Ryan responds with, quote, do you think I'd actually trust you to protect me? Don't blink too hard, shit for brains. You might lose your last few brain cells. I love when she turns her horrible vitriol on people that deserve it and not poor innocent classmates of hers. Misha's response to her calling him shit for brains and that nasty comment is to throw her in the pool, which is really mature of him. Next chapter, we're back in Ryan's POV. Ryan heads to school and she meets up with 10 in the hallway, and then when 10 goes to hug her, he notices blue paint underneath Ryan's fingernails. And I don't know if 10 is like Spider-Man or something. I don't know how that's the first thing that he notices when he goes to hug her. But Ryan just plays it off and tells him that she was just helping her mom paint the living room. As they're walking towards the school, they notice a message written on the front lawn, and it is spray painted in silver paint. This message on the front lawn of the school reads, quote, Lila got lost, got her salad tossed in the men's locker room last night. Someone was in awe, effing her raw. But who could it be? It wasn't JD. Which is just true poetry. After they read this message, 10 mentions that this is the first time Punk has ever used first names. So it proves that it is from someone that goes to their school and knows these people. Obviously, it's someone that goes to their school. They then pass by some more graffiti messages. We do not know what color these are written in. The first one reads, you kissed my hair while sticking me in the heart, but your house will break before I fall apart. Dash Punk. The other one is, you loved me, we were besties, I lent you my eyeshadow, but someday all you'll be is someone that I used to know. Dash Punk. God, maybe it's just me and I don't have an eye for poetry. I'll be the first to admit it, but these are so ridiculous to me. And I'm supposed to expect that people love these messages so much that they cannot help themselves but interact with them by responding to them underneath, like on the walls. After they read these messages on the wall, Ryan splits off from 10, and then she passes by the janitor, poor guy, who's trying to scrub all of these messages off the wall. As Ryan sees the janitor working really hard to try to scrub these messages off the wall, he just cannot really get the paint off. In response to this, Ryan discreetly goes up to him and then hands him a bottle of nail polish remover and lets him know hey, like, this will take off anything. The janitor is surprised by this kind gesture from Ryan, since she's usually so rude to apparently just everyone around her at all times. After he takes the bottle of nail polish remover, Ryan turns to see that Misha caught her, God forbid, in the act of being a decent human being. There is apparently a class with Ryan, Misha, Trey, JD, and Lila all in it. And for this class, they have to go to the library to do some partner research project stuff. Trey, as they're walking to the library, Trey tries to stake his claim on Ryan to Misha, which just embarrasses her, but Misha doesn't push back. In the library, Misha corners Ryan and tells her, quote, "You know, I could have taken him and his friend in one breath just now. What was I waiting for? Maybe the same thing that Cortez kid waits for when your boyfriend's pushing him around." So this whole conversation, while Misha is telling Ryan this and kind of chewing her out for not standing up for Manny, Misha is writing something on Ryan's hand in Sharpie, and after he chews her out, he leaves, and Ryan looks down to see that he wrote the word shame on her hand. Next chapter in Misha's POV, we are still in the library, and Misha is paired up with Lila for whatever research thing that they're doing right now. And while Misha is sitting there, Ryan walks up to him, shoves him, and starts writing something on the back of his neck. And after she's done, she just gets up and storms out of the library. Misha turns to Lila, who's his research partner, and he's like, "Hey, what'd she write on the back of my neck?" And Lila's like, are you sure you want me to read it? Ryan wrote, quote, "Needle dick, douchebag asshole." She was like digging the pen into his neck too, so she like really wrote it in there. Misha, instead of being mad at this, he's actually amused, noting with pleasure that Ryan is finally starting to get into the mud with him. Later that day, Misha is trying to wash the back of his neck off, finally got sick of the needle dick douchebag asshole tattoo, when Misha's trying to rush this off the back of his neck. Ryan approaches him, and Misha ends up taking the nail polish remover from her locker and using her cashmere scarf to get the pen ink off. Misha thinks to himself how he really should stop engaging with Ryan, but he has a hard time now that he saw her push back so much in the library, and it gives him a glimpse into the Ryan that he knows. And this doesn't like super make sense to me, because he hates that she's mean. So, and she was mean when she wrote needle dick douchebag asshole on the back of his neck. So, but I guess maybe it's like she's standing up for herself, or he's being mean to her and she's standing up to him being mean. Mid-school day, Misha rushes home to his house in Thunder Bay. And although he doesn't write Ryan anymore, and she has canonically always written him more than he has written her, he does still read every letter. He then goes into his sister Annie's old room, takes one of her scarves. He's very emotional being there. And while he's in there, he hears his father come into the house. And so he tells us that before Annie passed away, Misha and his father already had a strained relationship. Now they do not have a relationship. It's virtually non-existent. His father comes into the house, calls out to see if Misha is there. And although Misha doesn't respond, his father can tell that Misha is in the house. His father, knowing that Misha is in the house, he calls out to him and he tells him that he stopped knowing how to be able to talk to Misha, but then corrects himself, saying that he actually stopped finding a way to talk to him. After checking the mailbox and going into his sister's old room, Misha heads back to school right before it ends and then drops off one of Annie's scarves into the open window of Ryan's car, since he destroyed her cashmere scarf with the pen ink. As Misha heads back to his car, he sees that someone actually has vandalized it in the very short amount of time that he was gone. They vandalized it by writing the F slur on the hood of his car, which is classy. It's astonishing to me how much of a vandalism problem this school has. Misha knows that Trey is the one that vandalized his car, so he stomps over to where Trey is at the parking lot to confront him and starts beating him up. And as he's beating him up, the principal shows up and puts two and two together that Trey baited Misha into a fight with him so that Misha would get in trouble. Even though she knows that he baited Misha into a fight, he still is beating up Trey, so they both get in trouble. The principal, who I want to add, if I haven't already, is also Trey's stepmom. For some bizarre reason, Ryan tells the principal that it was actually her that vandalized Misha's car. I have no idea why she did this. I think it's literally to just further the plot and to give us this next scene. The principal is like, okay, if you say that if it was really you, then you have to go take Misha's car to the car wash and you both have to go clean off his vandalized car. Ryan and Misha go to the car wash together and end up kissing, kind of. Not actually kissing, but they like have a romantic moment where they're in the car at the car wash and Ryan licks Misha's lip ring. So the next morning, Ryan wakes up and looks over to her chalkboard wall in her room where she wrote all the words that Misha has written in some place during their exchanges. So the words are alone, empty, fraud, and shame. And she's been adding all of the words that Misha has written on her and on her stuff since she's known him. Seeing all of them together, it's pretty sad for her. All of Ryan's deepest fears being written down and forcing her to face that. So it's a Saturday, and since Ryan has nothing going on, she decides to finally drive past Misha's house for the first time ever. And so she heads out into Thunder Bay, and as she's driving through the town, Ryan thinks about how nice the houses are. Like, the houses in Falcons Well are still very nice, but Thunder Bay is like affluent town. Ryan finally pulls up to Misha's house, and even though she told herself that she wouldn't, she decides to go up to the door. Ryan knocks on the door, and Misha's dad actually answers, and he's just very dismissive of her. She asks like, hey, I'm a friend of Misha's, is he here? And he's basically like, well, if you were actually a friend of Misha's, you would know where he is. And she's like, all right, damn. She just asks the dad like, can you just tell me if he's okay? And he's like, yeah, he's fine. And so Ryan leaves, and she's so confused and so torn on how to feel about learning that he not only still lives there, but he's completely fine. So back at school, Misha has been getting more popular after he beat Trey up, or in Lila's words, quote, can you believe Mason Laurent? He probably got kicked out of his school for fighting, and Trey's getting a ton of shit on TikTok for that fight. Definitely hot, but what an asshole. He should be arrested. I love the phrase getting a ton of shit on TikTok for that fight. Later that day, Ryan is standing at her locker with her friends, and they comment on like how Misha won't stop staring at her. And then all of a sudden, Misha throws his like 7-Eleven cup at the trash can that's right next to Ryan's locker, and it gets soda like all over her. After throwing the soda and getting it all over Ryan and her friends, he comes over to them, once again calling Ryan the nickname Rocks and saying that he didn't mean to make her dirty, clearly calling back to their little moment at the car wash. After he says this, Ryan cleans off the soda and just heads to lunch, but on her way to lunch, Misha pulls her into one of the classrooms, and they finally kiss for the first time, and they're like making out in this classroom, all while like telling each other how much they don't like each other. Ryan says she has to leave because she doesn't want her friends to be suspicious, and Misha just kind of pushes back on her. Ryan tries to be like, ugh, Mason, like I have to leave, like trying to call him Mason because that's what she thinks his name is. But Misha cuts her off before she can say Mason, and he tells her, quote, don't call me that when we're like this. And Ryan's like, why? Like, what? And Misha just says, just don't. So next chapter in Misha's POV, we are back at the Cove where he is trying to finish a song that he started 2 years ago. As we know, Misha hasn't been able to write any lyrics or anything since Annie passed away, but after making out with Ryan at school that day, he is feeling inspired again. Dane ends up tracking Misha down at the Cove and tells Misha that his dad is not doing well. Misha feels a little bit guilty for leaving his dad alone after Annie's death, and Dane asks Misha if he's ready to come back to Thunder Bay. And Misha thinks to himself, quote, I don't know. There were reasons I left, but now I worry that I have reasons to stay, and they're not the reasons I came for. That's the problem. I should have never gotten this close to Ryan. It's complicated now. Either leave and keep my friend or stay and lose her forever. So Misha tells Dane that he needs to do one more thing and then he'll go home. Misha then heads into Falcon's Well to Trey's house and tells us that they are keeping something of his in that house that he needs to get back. He then passes by Ryan's house and is just overwhelmed by the feeling of wanting to see her. Thinking to himself, quote, I've wanted to talk to her for the past 2 days, but yeah, I just dig myself into a bigger hole because that's all I know how to do, it seems. I want to crawl in through her window and just touch her and talk to her and see if she can make me see the end of this. Make me figure out how to rewind and start over before I abandoned her all those months ago when I should have clung to her and let her know how much I need her. But if I could go back to before I met her in person, would I really want to? I wouldn't trade those minutes in the lab for anything, or the ones in the back of my truck. Eventually, we all have to weigh what we want more, wanting back what we had or wanting what we could be. To stay or risk everything to move forward. Misha heads to Falconswell High School to sneak in and use their shower at night since he's still living at the Cove. And as he's heading out of the locker room after his shower, he hears a security guard's voice and he runs to hide. The steam from Misha's shower tips off the guard that obviously somebody is in the school, and Misha bolts to find a way to exit the building. As he's running from the guard, Misha passes the cafeteria and then sees a brand new message from Punk that is written on the wall, presumably also written this night. And the message reads, quote, "I like you like a picture in a frame, but I can't touch and I can't be the same. Dash Punk." So Misha ducks into a classroom to just hide from the guard, and then he gets startled when he realizes that there's actually someone else in there. So the person that's hiding with him in the classroom is Punk. Who do you think that Punk is? I'll give you 2 seconds to guess. 1, 2. It's Ryan. She is hiding in the classroom. So Misha is obviously shocked, and Ryan begs him not to say anything. Misha thinks to himself, quote, "Why would I say anything? This is hilarious." Ryan Trevorrow, Queen Good Girl, sneaks into the school at night, breaking more than one law, to anonymously leave messages and air dirty secrets for the student body right under their noses. Excellent. Ryan and Misha run to hide from the guards in the library. Ryan, since they're running from this guard, she almost has an asthma attack. Misha is able to get her inhaler to her before she does. They then have this exchange, which I apologize in advance because I know it's long, but let's just listen to this whole thing. Here we go. Quote, "You don't tell anyone about tonight, and I won't tell anyone you were here either," she says. "Got it?" She turns to leave, but I grab her hand. "I think people would enjoy this version of you." Ryan says, "My friends would hate me." Misha says, "They already hate you. Everyone does." "Why fake it?" I charge. "Why compete with people and play the games?" "This is none of your business," she whisper yells, yanking her hand free and scowling at me. "You don't know me. Does anyone?" She looks away, her eyes suddenly glistening. After a moment, she speaks, her voice low. "I don't want to be alone," she admits. "They may hate me, but they respect me. I can't be invisible or laughed at or... I don't know why, I just never had the courage to stand apart. I always wanted to fit in. Everyone wants to be accepted, Ryan. Why do you write on the walls?" She stands there, staring off and looking like she's struggling to find words. "Misha," she says, trailing off again. "It doesn't matter. I just always had ways to vent before. A way to be heard, and now I don't. I just started doing it a couple of months ago, shortly after I stopped writing her. The fake friends, the hovering parent, the worry and stress of wanting to fit in, just like most of any other person out there. I was her bouncing board. I was so caught up in my own loss and anger, I never stopped to think about how suddenly abandoning her after 7 years would hurt her. Not that I'm responsible for her actions, but I am responsible for mine. She relied on me." And a very, very long quote. So the guards check the library that they're hiding in and don't find them. And then basically as they're hiding in the library, Misha and Ryan go to second base. And Misha obviously feels guilty about this afterwards since he is lying to her about his real identity. Next chapter in Ryan's POV, she's back at school with her friends and getting pressured from Trey and Lila to reciprocate things with Trey. Lila tells Ryan, quote, "What's the matter with you?" Lila scolds. "If you don't start being nicer, he'll find someone who will." "Nice like you?" I ask. "Doesn't look like being nice did you any good." And I gesture over to JD, who's laughing with Mason. Her boyfriend has barely spoken to her in days, probably because he knows what was written on the lawn last Friday was true. We all do, no matter how much Lila denies it. "I can handle my boyfriend," she says, "and I can handle Trey. Thanks." In the parking lot at school, Ryan and Ten see a girl give her phone number to Misha, and Ten remarks about the girl saying, quote, "She really is dumb as a box of rocks." After Trey says about the girl, "She really is dumb as a box of rocks," Ryan realizes that that's why Misha calls her rocks, because he's calling her dumb as a box of rocks. sucks. So the girl who gave Misha her number goes up to Ryan and her friends and insinuates that her and Misha slept together the night before. Later that night, Ryan heads to the drive-in with her friends, and Ryan goes to the concession stand and then gets approached by Misha because she's alone. And Misha hands her inhaler that she dropped the other night when they were hiding in the school together. Ryan is pissed at Misha for allegedly sleeping with that girl, and Misha notices and is like, oh, you're jealous. A little later, Ryan sneaks off and passes Misha's empty, unlocked truck, and since she's still pissed at him for allegedly hooking up with another girl, she climbs into his car and looks for ways to vandalize it. This girl has a serious vandalism problem. There are other ways to handle conflict in your life, babe. You don't need to vandalize everything in sight just because you're struggling in life. As Ryan is looking around in his car to try to vandalize it, Misha catches her and traps them both in the car. He then starts throwing the fact that he slept with another girl in Ryan's face, trying to upset her, but she won't give in. She then goes to leave the car, and Misha eventually admits that he lied about sleeping with that girl, and he just asked her to get food after him and Ryan's exchange in the library, literally just to make Ryan jealous. So it's just so toxic. And then Misha tells Ryan that he didn't want to hurt her, and that he doesn't want anyone else, and that he only thinks about her. And after he says this, they start hooking up, and Ryan thinks about how sometimes she feels like she really knows him with how easily they engage each other, but in reality, she actually knows nothing about him at all. Ryan starts asking him questions about himself and where he comes from, to which Misha responds by saying, quote, "Close your eyes, there's nothing to see out there." He says this, she doesn't piece it together, and in the car, Ryan and Misha end up sleeping together for the first time. After they're done hooking up in the car, it seems like Misha wants to tell Ryan something, maybe admit who he actually is, but he decides against it. Next chapter, we're still in Ryan's POV, and Misha is driving Ryan home when a song Ryan showed Misha comes on in the car. This song playing in the car sparks up a conversation where Ryan, for the first time, tells Misha about her pen pal Misha. Does that make sense? We then get this conversation. Quote, "Do you tell him everything?" he asks, still not looking at me. I narrow my eyes on him. Maybe he suspects Misha is important to me. Or maybe he wonders if my pen pal is more important than him. The truth is, Misha is irreplaceable, but even with him, I don't say everything. I turn my head to look out the window, and Ryan says, quote, "I tell him more than I tell anyone else." Misha asks, "Do you lie to him?" And Ryan responds, "Yes." He gets the version of me I want to be. So Misha asks Ryan if she will tell her pen pal about what happened tonight with the guy Mason that she met. And Ryan tells him probably. And Misha then drops off Ryan, and as she's walking to her front door, he hops out and catches up to her, asking her what her pen pal's name is. And when she replies, telling him his name is Misha, Misha kisses Ryan and then asks her to say the pen pal's name again so he can hear her say his real name when he kisses her. Things are getting really messy. They were always messy, but they're getting really messy. So the next week at school, Ryan comes in to see what are likely song lyrics written on her locker. Now we have another person in the mix that is vandalizing the school. The writing on her locker reads, quote, "Anything to not need you, anything to not fall for you, anything to look at a girl who's not you. But baby, there's nothing but you." Ryan smiles when she reads this, assuming that it was Misha who wrote it on her locker. At lunch, Lila tells Ryan that she saw her leave with Misha at the drive-in, but doesn't insinuate that she knows they slept together, and Ryan basically just tells her that she has no room to judge and to drop it. So next chapter in Misha's POV, he's using Ryan's spare key to unlock her front door, and he thinks to himself, quote, "I'll tell her tomorrow. I'll take her to my father's house, my house, and show her. No, I should write her a letter, something where I can get my words out right. No, she won't accept it. She won't be able to get past it. She'll hate me and cut me off, and my life will be empty without her. I have to tell her, or I have to leave. And the possibility that I'll do just that, punk out and cut and run, is the only reason I don't claim her. The only reason I don't knock Trey's fucking hands off her and put a dent in his stomach. I can't rob her of prom and friends when I know I won't be there to pick up the pieces. Misha uses a spare key to essentially break into Ryan's house. He breaks into Ryan's house because he just wants to be near her, and so he's only breaking into her house with the intention of just laying down with her for a little while. But surprise, surprise, they end up sleeping together again, which is like a big oopsie for Misha. After they sleep together, Misha invites Ryan to come out with him that night to do something illegal. She agrees, and so he takes Ryan to Trey's house. So they break into Trey's house, and Ryan is confused why they're breaking into Trey's house. But Misha just tells her that they're looking for a watch that belongs to him. In Trey's room, they don't find a watch, but they do find a bunch of pictures of naked girls in the middle of sexual acts with Trey, as if he needed to be more disgusting than he already is. This was the final straw for Ryan. Took her a very long time. But after seeing this, she decides that she is not going to go to prom with Trey. Good job, Ryan. Took you long enough. Ryan sees that in these photographs, there is a picture of Lila. Even though she did kind of suspect it, having it confirmed triggers a small breakdown for Ryan. And Misha is even confused because he knows that this doesn't surprise her, but just something about it breaks something open in Ryan. And Ryan thinks to herself, I'm not surprised. I just feel like shit for some reason. The whole time I thought I was winning. I thought I was on top. But behind my back, the people I thought I could handle were handling me. They think I'm stupid after all. Someone they find easy to humiliate. Just like before. I knew Trey wasn't holding out for me, so I didn't care. But I did think I had Lila figured out. I thought I had her respect. What fun she must have had, standing next to me and knowing that she's getting a piece of someone who she thinks I might want. It's not Trey, it's not Lila, it's me. I don't know who I'm supposed to be. Ryan then tells Misha, you know, I turned into this because I was a kid and I thought there was something more. I traded friends I didn't think were good enough for friends who really aren't good enough. Even Misha gave up on me. To this, Misha tells her that he's sure that this guy, Misha, had a reason. When Misha's like, there's nothing wrong with you, I'm sure your pen pal Misha had a reason, Ryan replies, yes, there's so much wrong with me and I don't have any friends. And she thinks to herself, quote, I don't, not really. I can understand people at school. I got what I deserved. I chose shallow, I acted shallow, and I got nothing that would last. I don't know if 10 will stick with me, and now Misha is gone too. I don't know what I did, but it had to be something, because when you find that everyone hates you, it's not them, it's you. Misha's trying to console her after she's having this kind of mini breakdown, and he's telling her, yes, you do have a friend, and as he's consoling her, he almost lets it slip that he loves her, which is so hilarious, because in Ryan's perspective, she's known him for, I think, like, a week or two, and so she's probably like, what the hell? Even though, you know, she's having this whole breakdown and he's trying to console her, they are still in a home they have broken into. So the sentimental proclamations of almost love do have to be cut short for now. Ryan takes the pictures that Trey has and tells Misha that she's gonna burn them. They leave the house without the watch. They're not able to find the watch. And Ryan tells Misha that she's sorry that he didn't get what he wanted, but Misha replies that he did. Misha then drops Ryan off at home, promising to tell her the whole truth tomorrow, but now she's not even sure if she wants to know. Ryan goes up to her bedroom, and this is when shit hits the fan. So she starts looking at all of the stuff she's written on her chalkboard wall recently since this new kid has been in her life. And the words read, alone, empty, fraud, shame, and fear. And then below those words is what Misha told her in the back of his truck at the drive-in, which reads, close your eyes, there's nothing to see out there. And so she keeps reading them over and over, and she's realizing that they rhyme. And more than just rhyming, they sound like song lyrics. And then she goes to her laptop and she types the word. This is so crazy. So she realizes this and she goes to her laptop and she types these words, the collection of words, and then the line he told her in the truck into Google. And from this search pops up a YouTube video. So she opens the YouTube video and she's watching it, and she recognizes that the lead singer of the band is Mason, or Misha, but to her it's Mason. So she's like, oh my gosh, he's in a band? That's so crazy. And the band is called Cyphercore, which is a ridiculous name. So she goes into the about section of the band and she's reading down the list of band members. And then she gets to lead singer and it says lead singer Misha Lair. Ryan is absolutely devastated. So, because all this time she's been worrying about Misha, missing him, writing him, and he's just been there right in front of her, playing in her face to the highest degree. We know the entire book that this is Misha, but from her perspective, the bomb drop of Mason being Misha after all of these encounters they've had and all of these emotional and physical connection that they've been building over the past few weeks, the astronomical betrayal that she must feel, I cannot even begin to comprehend. It's so unbelievably bad. Next chapter, in Misha's POV, he is back at his house in Thunder Bay and he sees that his house is a mess and just that his father is not doing well. He suddenly wishes that Ryan was there with him. So when he's in his house, Misha sits next to his father, who has seemingly taken some anxiety medication and is fast asleep. Misha confesses to his father that his sister Annie called Misha the night she died, and missing that call has been following Misha ever since. Misha confesses to his father that sometimes he wishes it was him that died that night, and tells his father that although he knows they'll never have the relationship like his dad and Annie had, Misha is there for him. Sometime later, Dane visits Misha at the Cove, telling him that he's been calling him. Misha stayed at his house in Thunder Bay for a while and started cleaning up the house. And while he was doing that, he decided that it is finally time to go back home to Thunder Bay. And he also decides to tell Ryan the truth. Little late. So Dane and Misha head into Misha's room at the Cove. When they get down there, Dane is like, oh my God, Misha, like, what did you do to your room? It's like a mess. They see the room is trashed, and Misha tells Dane, well, I didn't do this. And then they look up and they see a message written in black spray paint on the wall. And the message reads, you tricked me, watch your back, wait and see. He sees a bunch of letters scattered all over the ground, but a lot of the other letters that he's kept from her are missing now. So he's terrified that she took them and that she's going to destroy them. Misha hauls ass to Ryan's house and creeps into her bedroom and is desperate for her to hear him out. And she's obviously awake and completely fuming mad. Misha tries to explain why he did this to her, and Ryan is like, well, I burned all the letters. They keep fighting, and Ryan tells Misha, quote, you're so selfish. You take and take and take, and you didn't even think of me. I was never real to you. To that, Misha responds by taking off his shirt. Okay, he takes off his shirt to show her all of his tattoos, because I guess all the other times that they were together, like that they were hooking up and stuff, she never was able to see, it was never bright enough for her to see what the tattoos actually were of and like what they said. Now that she gets a good view of them, she sees that he's covered in lettering. So all of the lettering are quotes or lines that are either direct things Ryan has said to him or relating to things that Ryan loves. And Misha continues to try to explain himself, telling her that he had business in Falcon's Well and that he intended on only talking to her at the fundraiser at the beginning and then just dropping it. But he saw her being a bully and being so mean to everybody at school, and he could not help himself but keep engaging with her. Ryan tells him, quote, why didn't you tell me? At any time you could have said, hey, I'm Misha. I kissed you, I went to bed with you the whole time you knew me and I had no idea. You humiliated me. You've been right here in front of me this whole time. Do you have any idea how fucking creepy that is? After she tells him this, Misha somehow decides that he still has a reason to be pissed at her, telling her, quote, I didn't even know if I liked you anymore that first day. Why did I think for 7 years that you were strong and fucking nice? Someone who has balls and stands up for herself. Ryan tells him that she lied to him about the part of her that she fakes for others, but everything else she told him was true. Misha tells her he trusted that she was who she was portraying in her letters, and Ryan says she is. And they kind of just go back and forth. And I hate to side with Misha. But I'm going to have to side with Misha just on this one part because, you know, you can say, well, I'm not actually this person that I am to everyone else in my life except for you. If you're acting this way to everyone else in your life and the only time you're your true self is with Misha, you are this person. You are this mean bully and you have to take accountability for it and realize that, like, no, this is you. They just go back and forth for a while, but bottom line is Ryan is mad at Misha for lying to her about who he was and sleeping with her, and Misha is mad at Ryan for lying about who she was in her letters and actually being a bully at school. Misha thinks to himself, quote, she has to know that even though what I did was crazy and things got way out of hand, it hurt me too to be tricked, to find out that the person you care about and hold on a pedestal is shallow and mean to the rest of the world. So Misha asks Ryan, quote, and when you would write me, telling me to stand up to my dad, to believe in myself, to stay true with no regrets, why would you tell me those things when you don't follow them yourself? To him saying that, Ryan replies that it's because you want good things for the people you love. Hearing her say this makes Misha very emotional, and he reaches for her, but Ryan tells Misha to get out. And then Misha thinks that this is a good time to tell Ryan that he loves her. And Ryan just kicks Misha out. So next chapter in Ryan's POV, she's at school the next morning, obviously having a terrible time. 10 meets up with her and starts grilling her about missing morning practice, and as they're walking the halls, they see a message written on the walls of the school. 10 suspects it's Punk, but Ryan didn't write it, and we now know that Ryan is Punk. All we know about the message is that it's a lyric from the song Love the Way You Lie by Eminem. 10 can tell something is obviously wrong with Ryan, and seemingly shows real concern over whether or not she's okay. And then after Ryan goes to her locker, she sees more writing on the wall, also from Misha. And then this one reads, everything was real. Seeing this causes Ryan to cry, and 10 is genuinely concerned. She just brushes him off and heads up the stairs. And then she sees another message on the wall reading, I didn't mean to lie, but I meant every kiss. And saying I didn't mean to lie is such a lie. So Ryan was hoping that Misha would take the hint and not come back to school because she wants nothing to do with him right now. But when she approaches the door to her art class, she does see him sitting there. So she stalks into class, emotions obviously very high for her, and poor Manny Cortez once again gets caught in the crossfire, accidentally spilling soda on her when she's the one that slams into him. He apologizes, but she just hurls insults at him before she just goes and sits down. Misha witnesses her being mean to him, so when she sits down next to him, she's like, yeah, I know, I'm a vile bitch. And then Misha says, quote, I'd tear you apart in front of this whole school if I wasn't so sure you already feel like a pile of shit inside. Ryan, after he says this, Ryan thinks to herself, quote, I lashed out at Manny because he's an easy target, because he's weaker than me, because he's the only thing weaker than me. Everyone sees through me, and Misha is disgusted by me. He hates me. So Ryan just starts spiraling into this just self-hatred hole, and when she just can't hold it together anymore, she runs out of class. Later that day at lunch, Lila corners Ryan and starts grilling her for her odd behavior that day. Lila keeps pushing Ryan until finally Ryan tells her she just doesn't care, she's sick of pretending, and just to leave her alone. Lila goes, you know what? We would love to leave you alone. All of us would love to leave you alone because we're so sick of your shit. So their argument escalates until one of Misha's friends kind of gets in between them, and it throws Lila off enough where she just stalks off and leaves. Misha then approaches Ryan, telling her that they need to talk. Ryan tells Misha to go back to Thunder Bay because she does not want him there. Misha then tells Ryan, quote, I can't. I have no life there if you're not in it. You're part of everything good I've ever done in my life. Which I'm like, last time you talked to her, you called her a pile of shit. And now you're like, you're everything good in my life. The whiplash is insane from this man. Misha keeps going, telling Ryan how much he cares about her. Ryan tells Misha she hates him, that his betrayal clouded their whole history of friendship. Ryan then shoves past Misha and heads over to sit with her friends. Later that night, Trey is having a party. Ryan shows up with 10 and is just looking for a distraction, thinks that this is the perfect place to do so. And the chapter ends with 10 and Ryan having fun for once and just dancing. Next chapter, switching over to Misha's POV, where he's finally singing with his band again. They're rehearsing a new song that Misha wrote, and of course the song is about Ryan. Misha takes a break to check his phone, hoping for any type of message from Ryan. She is icing him though, so he checks her social media and finds a story of her at Trey's party with a guy doing a body shot off of her. This causes Misha to crash out, unsurprisingly, and he ropes his bandmates to crash the party. Surprisingly though, when they show up to the party, JD greets him, and they do seem like they're friends. Misha asks JD if he's seen Ryan. He doesn't know where she is, but he lets Misha know that he's around if he needs him. Trey still hates Misha though, and when he approaches him, Misha asks Trey where Ryan is. Trey insinuates that she went upstairs to hook up with a guy. Misha grabs Trey to start a fight, but notices a watch on his wrist, and this watch freaks Misha out, and he thinks to himself that she would never give it to Trey. Not sure who she is, but whoever it is would never give it to Trey. Ryan then comes down and tells Misha to go home. It's so funny because she yells Misha at him and everyone's turning around and they're like, who the fuck is that? Like, we don't know Misha. That's Mason right there. That's the guy from my class. Misha is so delusional. So after Ryan yells at him to get out and to stop fighting, Misha's like, you're plastered all over Instagram half naked and I am not happy. I'm like, oh my God, like, Misha, read the room. After Misha tells this to Ryan, Trey pipes up again and Misha punches him in the face. Then Misha cuts the watch off of Trey's wrist, so he takes the watch. The cops then show up and they bust the party. Then Misha ends up getting arrested and Ryan's like, no. Misha's basically like, babe, it's fine. And then he goes to 10 and he just tells him, get her home safe. So an hour later, Misha is sitting at the police station and Ryan shows up and asks him why Trey had his watch. Misha knows he needs to tell her the truth and Ryan pushes him to do so. But then the best thing ever happens. So Misha sees 3 men walking down the hall and they come to a stop in front of Misha. And then this amazing exchange takes place. I move to stand up, but my cousin pushes me back down. I'm sorry, man, I rush out, hating that he had to come all the way down here. But Will just smiles at me and says, getting arrested is a Thunder Bay boy's rite of passage, he jokes, beaming with pride. I roll my eyes. Will's 2 friends, Michael Christ and Kai Mori, stand behind him, looking amused. I guess they would know. A few years ago, they reigned over my hometown when they were high school basketball heroes, and they haven't left the limelight since, simply exchanging notoriety for infamy. And I was like, I read this and I was like, oh my God. Will is Misha's cousin, and we get a little cameo from Will, Kai, and Michael. Will, to help Misha get out of trouble, Will basically just throws his name and title around. Will is able to get Misha off the hook. Kai and Michael then start talking to Ryan, and Michael just says the most out-of-pocket line when referring to her getting filmed getting body shots taken off of her at this party. Michael says to Ryan, quote, if that was my girl, her ass would be red for a week. I'm like, Michael, you cannot say this to this girl you just met who is in high school. I love this exchange because it really shows, like, even with characters in other Penelope Douglas books, how unhinged the Horsemen are. Saying that to a person you just met. I just love this exchange. I love how we get to have the Horsemen in this chapter, because even though like none of the characters in Penelope Douglas's books are normal, having them interact with people that aren't in the main cast of like the original books is so funny, and you see it from a different perspective. Ryan, after she meets them, Ryan tries to leave and Misha follows her into the parking lot. Misha grovels a teensy tiny bit And then Ryan and Misha start arguing again. And then, of course, they start making out in the parking lot. And then mid-makeout, Misha looks up to find the horseman watching them make out in the car. Misha tells them to leave, and thankfully they do. And then Misha and Ryan end up hooking up in Misha's car in the police station. Next chapter, in Ryan's POV, this is the next day at school, and Misha isn't in their first class together. At school, Ryan realizes that she has been officially dethroned by Lila, because when she tries to talk to Lila and some of the other girls on the cheer squad, Lila ices her and literally pretends like she does not exist. At lunch, Trey decides to join in on the Ryan hate train, coming up to her, making more disgusting comments about her sleeping with Misha. And then he just makes disgusting comments about sleeping with women in general. So Ryan goes and sits alone at a lunch table, but Lila is not done with her and empties a carton of juice onto Ryan's lap. Ryan and Lila then get into a physical fight until who other than Misha pops in to save the day and break up the fight. Trey then gets in on the action, and now Trey and Misha are in a physical fight until the principal comes in to break up the fight. And then Misha, even though she's telling him to like come into the principal's office, he books it, and him and Ryan leave and go into the bathroom to clean Ryan up after she got juice all over her clothes. While they're in the bathroom, they have a bit of a heart-to-heart, and they then go to his house in Thunder Bay, and up in Misha's room, Ryan finds out that Misha has kept every single one of the letters that she's ever written him over the years. Ryan confides in Misha her biggest regret, how she had a friend in grade school named Delilah, and it was her only friend, and they were each other's only friends because they were both kind of alone a lot and ostracized by the rest of the kids. The second that Ryan got the chance to hang out with the popular kids, she completely abandoned Delilah. So after admitting that, Ryan and Misha talk some more, and they eventually make up. After they make up, they fall asleep together. The next chapter, still in Ryan's POV, we're back at school, and Misha, unsurprisingly, immediately gets called to the principal's office, and Ryan gets cornered by Trey in the stairwell since Misha is not there to protect her, essentially. Trey says some more disgusting things about women and does eventually leave her alone, but Ryan notices that Trey had a necklace or an earring of Manny's when he came out of the locker room to corner her, and Ryan assumes that Manny is still in there. Ryan then goes into the locker room to look for Manny, and she does find him in there. And just with every scene with poor Manny, like, it's just so sad, so I just don't want to get into it. Ryan goes in there, finds him like that, and tries to comfort him, and he pushes her away because obviously she's also one of his bullies. Manny does warm up to Ryan enough, and they end up walking hand in hand to the lunchroom. Manny asks Ryan why she's doing this since she doesn't like him, to which Ryan responds, quote, "I've always liked you, and I need a friend." Which bothers me because, you know, Ryan has been such a bully to him, and her excuse for him being like, "Why are you suddenly being nice to me?" is, "I've always liked you." Well, if you've always liked him, maybe you shouldn't have relentlessly bullied him in school. And of course now you're friends with him because you need a friend and everybody else kicked you to the curb. So Ryan and Manny sit down at lunch together, and her old friends continue to bully now both of them and dump food on the two of them. Then JD, of all people, pulls up a chair to sit at their lunch table. Way to go, JD. 10 then also joins the table. Way to go, 10. They're all having lunch together, so Ryan, Manny, 10, and JD all agree to go to prom together as a group. After lunch, Ryan finally decides to Google Misha. Next chapter, we're still with Ryan. After Googling Misha, she gets in her car to head to the Cove, and we assume that after Googling him, she is all up to date on what happened with his sister. Now she's on the same page with the rest of us, finally. Next chapter, still in Ryan's POV, and Ryan and Misha are going to prom. How Misha is allowed back in Falcon's Well at all, let alone prom, is beyond me. Misha and Ryan take prom pictures, and then Ryan gets in the car with JD, 10, and Manny to head over to where they're having prom, which is not in the high school. But Misha doesn't end up getting in the car, and he just tells them that he will meet them there later. When they get to prom, JD and Ryan dance together in just a very friendly way, but then 10 and Manny also dance together, and Ryan clocks that there might be like a little bit of maybe a little something going on with the two of them. Because I'm so sorry if I never mentioned, 10 is gay. So, there you go. That's why Misha, when he realized that 10 was the one taking the body shot off of Ryan, he was like, oh, I just crashed out for nothing, because it was 10 that was taking the body shot off Ryan. He's not interested in her. So Misha's still not at the prom, but Ryan and JD dance together, and then Lila comes up and they start fighting some more, which I'm just so sick of it. While they're fighting, Misha shows up with his band, Cypher Core. Go Cypher Core. Misha performs the song that he wrote about Ryan, and this causes her to cry, but she's crying happy tears. Misha and Ryan rally the rest of their new friend group to go back to Falconswell High School to do some kind of something. The gang heads over to Falconswell High School, and this is where Ryan reveals her punk identity to JD, 10, and Manny for the first time, and they're gobsmacked that she is punk. She then writes on the wall, as punk, she writes, quote, "You are not alone. It gets better. You are important, and you can't be replaced. Hang on." They're just really speedrunning, Ryan's character arc, because we don't have a lot of time in the book left. So Ryan then fills 10, JD, and Manny in on her and Misha's plan and doles out, you guessed it, spray paint to everybody. They're gonna vandalize the school again. We don't know what they write at the school, but the next day we see that they wrote all over the school quotes from Trey, none other than Trey Burrows, and it is outing him for all of the disgusting things that he said throughout the book. How is this an expose of Trey? A lot of the times when Trey is saying insane, horrible things, it is in front of many a person. But they have all these messages of things that Trey has said all over the school. They also have some things about Lila and like the other popular kids, kind of just trashing their reputation. The police show up and they're worried that it's for Misha, but then one of the friends tells Ryan that no, it's not for Misha. All the quotes around the school that Trey has said got to some of the girls that he presumably slept with, and they went to the authorities about it, and he is likely getting arrested. Okay, love. So the principal then approaches the gang, and Misha takes the fall for the entire thing. Next chapter. So Misha goes into the principal's office that is also Trey's stepmom, and Misha reveals his true identity to the principal. He tells her, yeah, I'm Misha. My name is not only Misha, and not only Misha Lair, my name is Misha Lair Grayson. And to him saying that his last name is Grayson, the principal is gagged at the Grayson reveal. He's like, yeah, you don't believe me? Why don't you call my father, whatever his first name is, Grayson? Shaking in her boots, she calls his father. He answers. She hears his voice, slams the phone down, petrified. And then we find out that the principal and Trey Burrows' stepmom is Misha's biological mother. So the original reason that Misha came to Falconswell was never had anything to do with Ryan. It was all to confront his biological mother. So Misha has this big monologue kind of revealing his identity and digging into her for abandoning their family. She abandoned them when Misha was 2 and when his sister Annie was just a baby. His mom asks him what he wants, and he tells her, quote, "I wanted to see you. I wanted to figure you out. I wanted to understand why my sister died of a heart attack at 17 years old, because she was taking drugs to keep her awake, to study, to be the perfect daughter and student, so you would come back and be proud of her and want her." Misha forces his mother to admit that she is happier without them and that she never thinks about them, which she does. She tells him that she is happier without them and that she does never think about them, and it is So brutal. After getting what he wanted, because he wanted to get her to admit it, Misha leaves, thinking to himself, quote, "I won't regret leaving. I won't think about you every single day from now on. I'm happier without you, and I don't need you. I'll never look for you again." Later, Ryan and Misha are back at his house, and we learn that Misha's mother originally had the watch. It was some Grayson family heirloom, and she stole it, I guess, when she abandoned their family, and she gave it to Trey, and that's why Misha was so gagged seeing Trey wear the watch at the party. Misha then tells Ryan that he got an offer to go on like a solo tour or something, and they agreed to be long distance, and they of course promised to write each other and stay in touch while they're long distance, just really coming full circle. Last chapter, we have a time jump to 10 months later. Misha and Ryan have been long distance this whole time, with him touring and Ryan at college. Ryan heads back to her dorm and finds a message written on the wall of her dorm. So the vandalism is not only in Falconswell High School, apparently it extends to Ryan's college. She knows it's from Misha, so she rushes up to her dorm, and as she's rushing to her dorm, she sees more and more messages written on the wall, and she goes into her dorm and she finds Misha there, and he surprises her at her school. So Misha tells Ryan that he wants to put his music dreams on hold for a while and join her in college, but Ryan goes to fucking Cornell. Was she smart this whole time? She goes to Cornell, and he's like, "Yeah, you're probably gonna have to transfer schools because I cannot get into Cornell." And she's like, "Absolutely. If Cornell doesn't want to take my boyfriend, then Cornell sucks and I will transfer." So they plan to go to college together now. Okay, and we made it to the epilogue. We are so close. So, epilogue. 5 years later, Ryan now lives in Delcor. So another callback to the Devil's Night series, because Delcor is where Rika and Michael live. And Ryan is shooing away paparazzi because Misha is a big rock star now, and they're also married. So Rika also still lives in Delcor, and Ryan and Rika are very, very good friends. And then Ryan goes up to their apartment, and her and Misha are happy and in love. And you guys, we did it. That is the end of the book, mostly because the actual last thing written in the book is a letter that Ryan wrote to Delilah, her old friend that she abandoned when they were in 4th grade. This letter is mostly just Ryan apologizing to the friend and saying, you know, "I hope you're doing well. I'm so sorry for what I did to you." And then that is the actual end of the book. The sun has gone down significantly. I've just filmed so much. I had a great time reading this book and recapping it for you all. I really hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you want more videos from me. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.